and for here to eternity. The information is held. To get the chair's attention for questions or comments, you can raise your hand in the Zoom's meeting box by clicking the raise hand button or hold your hand up in front of the camera. Voting will be done by a show of hands. First, we will call all in favor, and then please hold your hand up so it can be recorded. Then we will call for opposition. Do the same, hold your hand up if you're in opposition. If you do not have a camera on, Sammy will call for your vote at the end of the visual vote. Chair Kroger, it's yours. You are muted. Chair Kroger, you are muted. There you go.
That was odd. I got several messages and I unmuted all of them. Oh, well, technology. Welcome to everyone. I call this meeting of the May 25th, 2021 Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Sammy, would you do the roll call, please? Sammy, I think you're muted.
Okay, let's get that over and done with now. So Marcus Alexander is absent. Patty McConnell is excused, absent tonight. John Lehman is present. Nancy Bell is present. Kyle Blaine is absent. John Fox is present. Linda Krager is present. Sharon Taylor is present. Paul Thompson is out, excused. I have Todd Waters, Terry Dawson, and Jeff Malam present. We do have a quorum. Thank you. You're muted, Linda.
Can you hear me now? Mm-hmm. I'm unmuting. Odd. Okay, our first agenda item here is approval of the committee minutes from last year on May 26th. And you should have those minutes that were mailed out, I think, by email. And did everyone have a chance to look at those? And are there any questions about them or corrections? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as distributed. Who would like to make a motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Councilor Fox. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Bell. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve those minutes. This will be our first vote where you raise your hand if you're in favor of approving the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Raise your hand. And is there anyone abstaining? Okay, so the motion is approved. Thank you. Is there anyone who has signed up for public comment tonight?
No.
All right, thank you. Next up is the Urban Renewal Agency budget message, and our finance director, Tim Gaines, will present that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Sammy, can you put up the budget message, please? If you have that, do you have that? I think that's.
No, I don't. I only have
Okay,
this slides that were given to me.
Sorry about that. So I'm going to talk about the URA. I'm just going to kind of summarize the budget message so I don't have to read the whole thing to you guys. I'm sure you don't want to hear my reading skills. The URA continues to transfer monies to the city's sewer debt fund. The maximum amount of the transfer over the life of the URA is $9 million, and we shouldn't reach that maximum until around 2032. This year, we're projecting tax revenues to be around $405,000, which is about $5,000 less than we budgeted for fiscal year 2021. We're going to come up short in that this year and collect about $402,000. And the county is expecting slow growth for fiscal year 2022. And so we came up with $405,000. Costs in the URA include administrative services, which is audit, public notices, bank fees, and then we have a $400,000 transfer to the city sewer debt fund. That is the same amount we transferred in 2021. And the ending fund balance will be around $50,000. And as you all know, I think the URA has no capital assets, so that's our cash to start the next year. Any questions about the budget message? Excuse me.
Sharon Taylor.
Yeah, this has always been a bugaboo for me, this urban renewal agency. I asked the question, I think, last year, and I don't know that I really got an answer as to when the urban renewal agency is over. I know you said it was when they reach 9 million, but I think there is an actual date where it ends.
Yeah, I believe.
According to the urban renewal district plan.
Yeah.
So
Interrupt you.
should be looked at, you know, because that would be like, I think it's 23, 24 that's in the plan.
I believe it's 2032. Ann, does that sound correct to you?
You know, Sharon, what I've done is we've answered this every year, and because I'm not going to be finance director anymore, what I've asked for is a legal memo on this that can be held in the file for this, and Ann Davies is going to be preparing that.
Okay.
So it'll be spelled out in a legal memo so that it's in a file for future reference.
That would be helpful because it's, you know, again, that plan was written many years ago, and whether or not there's been any kind of adjustments to it or anything else, it's unclear.
Any other questions?
Counselor Fox.
Did we get a copy of this, or is this just being presented?
What we have here is just the slides for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, correct. So
We have a copy.
It was
I got a
emailed.
copy by email, like last Tuesday night.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Counselor Bell.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around why the tax revenue would have gone down. I know it's not a big decline, but I think our appraisals all went up, and I'm not quite sure I understand why that revenue decreased. Can you explain that?
I'm going to give it a shot, and then Ann, feel free to chime in. So this is my first budget committee for your guys' urban renewal, but I did have one in my former job. The way it was explained to me at Lynn County is they don't know how much total money is going to be collected over the year for the state, for the county rather, excuse me. And once they get that number, everybody gets they used to call it a piece of the pie, which is a percentage of that amount. Is that how Lane County does it, Ann?
Yeah, but I think that part of the issue is that the city of Coburg saw a very large growth in 20, 7% growth. And so when I was talking with the assessor, he predicted the same amount of growth in 21, and that's what we budgeted for. It didn't quite make the amount of growth. And so that we did not make a 7% for sure. And so that's, I think, it's just lower than what we budgeted based on the county projections of the growth in Coburg. So that kind of explains why.
I also, I seem to recall, I can't remember reading something with the county assessor, but I believe they're also kind of increasing their projections of the amount that will not be paid in taxes. So they'll have an uncollected version. And because of COVID and the businesses and things, they're expecting a small increase in that uncollected portion too. So that may be a factor also. Any other questions? Chair?
I think she's muted.
Keep saying I'm unmuted. Tim, do you want to go on and go through the slides then with us for the budget?
We can. It's pretty short and sweet, I guess. All right, hang on a second. I'm Zoom challenged sometimes here. Are the slides up, Sammy, and I just am not finding them?
Yeah. Mandy's getting them.
Okay, cool.
I believe that's the only slide for the urban growth boundary right there.
That's correct. That's correct. And so most of that stuff I kind of went over in the budget message, but the main thing that our URA does is helps with that wastewater debt service reserve fund that you see about 3/4 of the way down at $400,000 in the green there. We do have an audit fee that you'll see up about 1/4, third of the way down, about $5,500. And then we have some small administrative monies budgeted for things like filing fees and anything that might come up that we're not expecting. And we try to keep $50,000 in there is the goal.
All right, are there questions on this? Or any questions in general on the Urban Renewal Agency budget and plan that haven't been asked?
I see no questions, Chair.
Thank you. Well, then I would entertain a motion for approving the Urban Renewal Agency budget for fiscal year 21-22 and recommending adoption to the URA directors. Is there someone that would like to make a motion?
I so move to adopt the 21-22 urban, excuse me, renewal budget and
Recommend.
recommend forwarding to the directors.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Fox. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Bell. Okay, any discussion before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, hand up. Sammy, I hope you're getting that. I can't see you anymore.
I got it. Thank you.
All right. Opposed, hands up. And anyone abstaining, hands up. Great, thank you. So that is approved. And with that, if there's no other order of business from anyone, I am going to adjourn the meeting. So hand up quickly if you have any other URA business. Okay, did I see a hand? No. Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 6:16 p.m. Next up is going to be the regular meeting. So if you want to take a breath, do that for the moment. I'm shuffling my papers. And I'm assuming, Ray, that the same Zoom requirements that you mentioned before will continue through this, and I don't think we need to read them again, correct?
No, let me just to make sure, I'm gonna make sure I read this one paragraph. It is being held via webinar and audio and video recording. To participate in these meetings, you must have registered with the city in advance. And it is being recorded. If there is a disruption, we will recess for 5 minutes and return. If that does not correct this situation, the meeting will end and be rescheduled. Chair.
Okay, thank you. I will now call the May 25th, 2021 City Budget Committee meeting to order at 6:18 p.m. Sammy, will you do the roll call, please?
Yes, we have Marcus Alexander, Patty McConnell, Kyle Blaine, Paul Thompson are absent. The rest of the budget committee are present, and we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First up is going to be approval of 3 different budget committee minute groupings. And you probably see that on your agenda. 2 of them are from 2020, so May 19th and May 26th. And then we have last week's budget committee minutes as well. So I think what I will do, hopefully everybody had a chance to review them. I know I spent this afternoon with them a bit. Does anyone have any questions or corrections on the May 19th, 2020 budget committee meeting minutes? And Ray, you'll have to help if you see any hands. No hands?
No hands.
All right. How about for the May 26, 2020 Budget Committee meeting minutes? Any questions or corrections? Hands up.
No hands.
All right. And how about last week's committee minutes? Questions or corrections?
And no hands.
All right.
Hands free.
I wonder if it would be appropriate to make a motion for all 3 dates of minutes or minutes to be approved. Sammy, is that okay, or do we have to do them one by one?
That is appropriate, yes.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the May 19th, 2020, May 26th, 2020, and May 18th, 2021 Budget Committee minutes. Would someone like to make that motion?
Councilor Bell.
I would move to accept all 3 of the previous budget meetings minutes as presented.
So you're making a motion then?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, Councilor Bell, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, so again, we will do a vote. So all those in favor of accepting those 3 dates of minutes, hands up. Great. Opposed, hands up. And abstaining, hands up. Okay, great. So those are all approved. That gets that business out of the way. Thank you. Next up is public comment. Sammy, do we have anyone signed up for public comment tonight?
We do not.
All right, thank you. Next up is the public hearing. And I always get a little confused on this, so I might need help. So this, I believe, is where we need to look at resolution 2021-08 so that we can receive state revenues. So I guess I need to do the time for that. So I will open the public hearing for resolution 2021-08, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues at 6:21 p.m. And I'm not sure, Tim, are you doing the report for that or?
Yeah, I can do that. You bet.
Okay, great.
All right, so what you have before you here is a resolution for the city of Coburg to accept state revenue sharing for fiscal year 2022. We're eligible for that because we provide at least 5 essential services. And what we provide is police protection, street construction and maintenance, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, and utility services. The source of these revenues for the general fund are cigarette, liquor, and general state revenue sharing. We use those funds in the general fund for general expenses. They're not targeted for any one specific thing. This fiscal year 2022, we should collect around $40,000 between those three. The other state revenue sharing fund that we have in here is a highway trust fund, basically called a gas tax sometimes, but not to be confused with the city gas tax. This is the state gas tax. We expect to get around $104,000 in fiscal year 2022, and then we'll get the additional city gas tax separately. It's not part of this. Any questions on this resolution?
Counselor Lehman.
So you said 40,000 for one revenue stream and 104 for the other revenue stream.
Yeah.
On page 1, it says 17,000.
Page 1.
Am I looking at the right sheet? The state shared revenues provide the city with an annual revenue stream of approximately 17,000.
Yes, it does say that. That's a typo. That's a typo on my part, sorry.
So should that be amended to be 144,000?
Yeah, I think we could say 40,000 for general fund and 104 for the street fund. Keep them separated. I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
I don't see any.
Okay, great, thank you. Sammy, did anyone sign up for public testimony for this?
No, we do not have anybody signed up for public testimony.
Okay, any other questions before I close the public hearing? Okay, I will now close the public hearing at 6:25 p.m. There is a second one scheduled for June 8th, 2021. Okay, next up is going to be some follow-up on questions from the May 18th meeting in preparation for us making a decision tonight. So, Tim, are you doing that as well?
Yes. Sorry, got a little out of order there. So at the last budget meeting, we were not directed by the budget committee to make any changes to the proposed budget. Staff did, however, find 2 changes that we need to make and point out to you. We have to budget another $1,000 in the general fund for IT services. The expenses are going up this year with all the COVID stuff. We're going to be doing things a little differently, I think, at the city hall here. We also are purchasing a mower this year, and we need to budget another $5,000 to make that happen. You can see both of those changes on, I believe it's page 3 and 4. Actually, page 3, sorry. Man, that's so, sorry, I can't see it very well. Go back 1 page, Sammy, please. So in the third column, actually from the left, you'll see the changes there. One of them has IT beside it, one has mower. We also discovered another issue. If you go to the second to last page, I believe, Sammy. So the URA transfers $400,000 in fiscal year 2022 for the city sewer debt department. On the city budget, we had it budgeted to get a transfer in from the URA of $163,500. That was oversight on our part. So we're changing that to match because they need to match So we're changing that from $463,500 to $4,000. That will affect the unappropriated fund balance, but it's very healthy, so it won't be a huge deal.
Questions?
I see none.
Okay, thank you. That would bring us, well, were there any other follow-up questions, I guess, from last week? I don't recall that we had too many questions, and we had talked about some of the changes in the actual dollar amounts that we just heard about.
I saw
Yeah.
Counselor Fox.
Counselor Fox.
Yeah, it might have been stated, but I just don't see it in there. And I realize it's not in the forthcoming budget, but I was just wondering how much those 15-year pumps are that we're going to have to replace that might expire before their 15-year lifespan.
The 15-year what? Counselor Fox, I didn't understand.
Is Brian here?
Okay, well, that can be held over, and I'm just curious about that.
You're talking about the
they-
sewer pump, Counselor Fox?
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have been specific.
Brian, can you answer Counselor Fox's question, please?
Yes, will you ask it one more time so I'm clear?
Yeah, we were talking about the tank pumps and then how they have a presumed 15-year lifespan, but that may be shortened due to the fact of lack of maintenance. And I was wondering how much each one of those costs.
Yeah, that's a great question. It all depends on the size of the tank and which vendor we have to use. Typically for residential, looking about $1,000. Depending on the commercial site, it could be up to $12,000.
And how many residential pumps do we have? Approximately.
Approximately a little over 600.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Also,
Chair?
excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mayor. I also want to talk just for a second. There's some sheets in your packet with revenues collected compared to budget. I just want to touch on that for just a second. Sometimes when we're looking at the sheet, it's alarming that the revenues aren't coming in as fast as we think they should. This particular year, we had planned for, I'm talking about, sorry, fiscal year 2021, a 15-home subdivision. I believe it was 15 homes, Coburg Creek, I believe, and that was postponed. Most of the reason our shortfall in revenues looks worse than it is because of the SDC portion of that. What we did not collect that we probably would have collected was almost $1 million. So I just wanted to touch on that very briefly. And then there's slides in here if anybody has any specific questions. I'd certainly be willing to answer them, try to answer them.
Counselor Fox?
So I noticed on the year-to-date tax revenues, I misplaced it, but it was like, I got the numbers of how much it was. I'm just wondering, do we anticipate a loss in tax revenues that will not be received by June 30th this year due to the pandemic issues? And if so, how much? What percentage?
Sorry, we've exceeded our tax revenue forecast from 2021.
Thank you.
You bet.
I should just add that we did budget those conservatively because we
Yeah.
didn't know what was going to happen, but we did very well on them.
God.
No other questions?
I also just wanted to correct that just Tim wasn't here with the residential subdivision. That is a 28. Last year, what we were looking at was a much bigger subdivision. And we anticipated that it was going to be started in, and at least a good portion of it be built in this year. That was delayed. And actually the developer pulled the application and redid the development plan. And so now it is set for 28 homes. It's just not ready to go this year as we anticipated. So that's why the SDC's revenues are just not realized this year. They will be coming in, so that will be happening in the next fiscal year.
Any other questions, Counselor Fox?
That would be a reduced SDC estimate, correct?
Yes, we redo those every year at budget time. So we have a sheet that we use that we figure out what we think is going to be developed. And it's a crystal ball because we can't control developers, but we do look at what we feel is projected for the years that we budget.
Any other questions? Chair? You're muted.
Now,
Yes.
we are close to the point of getting, deciding about the budget. So I really want to be sure that any questions we might have on the budget tonight, that we go ahead and ask, or any of the materials if we need clarification before we entertain that motion.
Chair, I believe that Tim has some budget to actual slides to just show the committee for the fiscal year 21.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, those are on page. Page numbers. Sammy, can you put those up, please?
I don't know what page you're at, Tim, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up between the one we sent out early and the printed copy and this one. I don't think that's on here. And the page numbers on this guy. Just 1 second. It's near the. Sorry, I got no page numbers. It's near the back of the packet that we sent out. The first packet we sent out, I believe.
Do you have account numbers, Tim?
Tim, all we have to share on the screen are the slides that you gave me this afternoon, which were
Okay.
5 slides.
Sorry about that, Sammy.
That's okay.
So they are in the packet that we sent out, I think delivered. Is that correct, Ann? I'm getting confused with documents here a little bit. Sorry.
So I believe that we prepared budget to actual, and I believe they were probably sent out last night if people received them.
Yeah,
Yes.
They're right
So
here.
Counselor Fox is holding them up. Sorry.
There's just no page number, so.
Right. So you asked, the budget committee asked for the budget to actuals to be shown this week. So Tim did prepare those. I think it's really relevant to mention that this year is a little odd for us, is that we have some funding that are substantial funding items that are very time sensitive. And so while the percentages could look low, we had a very large water reimbursement coming in. We also have not transferred money to the sewer fund yet from the urban growth boundary. So the sewer fund revenues should be just fine once we make that transfer. In the street fund, the percentage difference is really representative of the SDCs that haven't been realized. And in the water, and then in the general fund, we do have some reimbursements for our police patrols with the fire. So we have some reimbursements coming in for that. And and also a STA grant for street costs. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of the city receiving these reimbursements. And so those can skew the percentages to date. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that.
Questions?
I don't see any, Chair.
I think Counselor Fox.
Here, I see a hand.
So quick numbers, even though revenues, expenses are down, revenues are down, revenues are less than we would like. We're about $93,000 to the positive.
You know, it's hard to look at that from a dollar point because there's revenue still to come in and their expenses are still to go out. I think what we look at and compare is if our revenues, if there's some gap between the revenues received and the expenses that have gone out. So what we look at is if we're not collecting it, are we spending it? And right now, I believe that we're looking at that there is a gap between the revenues received and the expenses that have went out. The dollar amount, I'm sorry, John, I can't rattle that off for you right now, but that's what I look at is that they're running together, but I really like to see that the revenues are a little bit higher. In this instance, they are. And so that we're healthy. We're not spending more than we're bringing in, and we have substantial revenue still to come in that's going to bring that revenue line up even more.
Other questions? Is there any more follow-up from last week? Did I miss anything that was going to be brought?
There wasn't any requests from last week. I got no email requests and neither did Tim of questions that the budget committee had.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, are we ready to entertain a motion or do we have questions? I'm not seeing any hands. Well, I will entertain a motion to approve the City of Coburg budget for fiscal year 21-22 and recommending adoption to the City Council. Would someone like to make that motion?
Sharon Taylor.
I move that we adopt the 21-22 budget as presented and recommend it to the council for adoption.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So any questions before we vote? Okay, so all those in favor, hands up. And Sammy, you'll have to let us know when you are good.
Looks unanimous. Thank you.
All right, so I will still call for anyone who is opposed and anyone abstaining. Okay, great. So we've done that part. Well, we're not quite finished. Oh, so next up, I think I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ray for the Budget Committee vacancy.
Thank you, Chair. Before Sammy gives a staff report for the budget vacancy, I'd like to recognize one of our members that we're going to lose. Sharon Taylor has notified us that she's going to move out of our area, so she's ineligible for the Budget Committee. She started in 2014 on our Budget Committee, so 7 years of service. Obviously, her skills have been very appreciated here and asks good, tough questions and brings in good data, uses our data and makes it better for us. I think that's been helpful to all of us. And I just want to say thank you to Sharon for her service to the city of Coburg with her expertise in helping us get through some really tough times that we had before. So thank you, Sharon. Appreciate your service.
Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I must say that I think that the city is in really good hands with Ann and with Tim and everybody else. And over these 6 or 7 years, I've definitely seen improvements, which I appreciate.
Definitely much better from the old days. Okay, Sammy, we have a staff report for vacancies and filling them.
We do, and I think everybody was part of the decisions back in 2019 when you guys talked and the Budget Committee had mentioned that they wanted to be more involved in the appointment of Budget Committee members, and that didn't really line up with the meetings, and we kind of worked through that. So you guys set a informal policy that we would open the recruitment in April so we could get the applications and you guys could review the applications and interview the applicants at your last meeting during the budget season and recommend to council. So Sharon Taylor and Linda Krager's terms expired. We opened the recruitment up. We did a recruitment April 1st all the way through the end of April and received one application, one approved application. We did get some interest from a great person who would have been wonderful. I spent a lot of time with him going over things and then found out he lived on Stallings Lane. So we have one applicant to consider tonight, and that would be to reappoint Linda Krager, to recommend that the city council and the mayor reappoint Linda Krager to be appointed to the Budget Committee. Budget Committee also addressed how we would go forward with the vacancy that we have still. And it will just be a noticed, we'll still be recruiting for applications, and we'll have to actually pull the Budget Committee together as soon as we have applications for you guys to move forward with that recommendation. The staff report that you guys have in front of you probably notice it says that we're appointing Linda until 2043, which was a typo. We're gonna recommendation, it's a 3-year term to 2023. And her application is attached. If you have any questions, Linda is here and can answer those. John.
Councilor Fox.
I like the typo.
Yeah, I think 23-year terms is perfect for Linda.
I'm not sure if I would still be around then. And if so, I might be in the nursing home. I don't know.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to appoint, let's see if I can find it here. Motion to recommend the city council and mayor that Linda Krager be appointed to the Budget Committee for a 3-year term expiring 6/30/2020.
So moved,
3-year
Mayor.
term, it would be 24.
So moved for all 23 years.
Terry, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Fox. A motion by Terry Dawson and a second by Councillor Fox to recommend to City Council and Mayor that Linda Krager be appointed to the Budget Committee for a 3-year term expiring 6/30/2024, if that's a 3-year term. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Got him, Sammy? Any opposed? Any
I think I would abstain.
We have one abstention. Okay. Congratulations, Linda Krieger. You are a continuing member of the Budget Committee till 2043, and we appreciate your dedication.
Well, thank you so much. It takes a while to kind of get the hang of things and move on. And I also was there in the older days and some really tough budget committee meetings. So it is really great to see it be put together so much better. And, it works better for our input and our understanding, especially. So thank you. And maybe someone else will want to be chair next year.
Not
I'll
as
just
long
put
as
that
you're
out
here.
there. Well, Councillor Fox, he's coming up. All right, well, thank you. And so we're getting closer to adjournment. I would like to thank everyone for their participation and the staff. Ray, you did quite a bit last week that, about how much preparation we had. And I think not having so many questions and confusions, we can say that it was very well put together, so we continue improvement. I would also say if we have something that we notice that would continue to improve that you want to say tonight, now's the time to also make that input. Sharon.
I have a friend that's on the Springfield Budget Committee, and what they've done, I think, this year is the individual department heads actually did a recording of their presentation and message and had it on, I don't know, YouTube or someplace like that, so that people could also watch them at their leisure, rewatch them or whatever.
Okay. You think they put it on YouTube?
Very possibly. I could check with her for sure, but or somebody could ask Springfield, but I think that there was someplace they could go to actually watch the presentations.
If they missed it. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, good idea. Other folks? Councillor Lehman?
I did make a note or a comment in the May 19th budget meeting that I'd like to see a list of the top 10 increases in the budget, as well as budget reductions somewhere along the line in the presentation.
Councillor Lehman, is that a strict dollar amount or a percentage amount that you would like to have that top 10? And
either one that puts in perspective so we can see where we have the largest increases in our budget, so we can have some discussion as to why that occurred, as well as decreases.
I'm going to say it's probably going to be best to do a percentage, because some of the funds are pretty small and some of them are large. So if we did dollar amount, that would skew it.
Or any dollar amount over $10,000. Either way, just to highlight for us to see some perspective as to what increased the most and why, as well as what decreased the most and why. Significant. Of course, we don't want to do anything that is, minimal in amounts.
Okay. I think that's a good plan.
Councillor Fox?
Lehman, we did prepare that and we can send it out.
Yeah, we can email that to you, to all of you.
Thank you.
And I was just going to be in favor of both, because sometimes you can have a 3,000% increase in something and it went from, $50 to $350. And that's really, do we want to discuss that versus, like Councilor Lehman said, over 10,000, those are the big things. And it can only be a 5% increase.
We just covered those large increases this year. What were some very big large ticket items and why the increase? So tried to give an explanation of why it was increasing, and so we can definitely put some percentage growths on that and send it out to you.
Yes, Counselor Fox.
So, and since that was done, it would be great if next year that could be just sent out with the whole packet so we can see that stuff when it's available.
Yeah, we'll include that in the regular budget packet next year.
Okay, other thoughts for improvement? Okay, seeing none, is there any other order of business that anyone wants to discuss before we adjourn? Ray, do you have anything you want to end with, or?
I've already said it. I just appreciate the experience of our council and committee. It's a real pleasure to work with people who know what's going on. As Sharon Taylor said, we have a great staff. They put a lot of hard work into making this presentation as easy for us as possible. It's really amazing to see the work that they put into everything that they put before us, not just a budget. It's everything. Every presentation that they do in a public meeting is a huge production for them. They're top notch. I just appreciate that so much, and it's so good to see the same people. Some people would argue new blood is good blood, but I just really like seeing a good, stable budget committee that is very knowledgeable and has the history and background to know what we've been through to keep us going on a good route. So thank you to everybody.
Great, thank you. And one thing that I do, and maybe some of you do, but before I come to these budget meetings, and Ann is very generous to sit down with me, and so I get all my questions answered before I come so that I can try to maneuver the papers and the Zoom, which I didn't do great tonight, but so I sure appreciate that too. And anybody that I need to talk to when I have those questions, that all happens so that I'm prepared ahead of this too, which I so much appreciate. Anyone else? All right, with that, I'm going to adjourn this budget meeting at 6:54 p.m. Thank you all.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.